released in 2022. We'll be adding a licensed offering to this channel for a change. The 1/6 scale Dante from Capcom's Devil May Cry 3 by Asmus Toys. This will be the luxury edition, which includes a bunch of additional weapons. And for a bit of context, Asmus Toys has been making Dante figures since 2009, or at least as far as I'm aware. And in particular, the first DMC III Dante was released around 2020, and in just 2 short years, we're getting this one, which I'll be referring to as version 2.0. The likeness is a tricky one to comment, because it boils down to how you remember Dante. Personally, I go by how he looked in-game, so the likeness and the hair just aren't quite doing it for me. However, the PS2 model was never really that detailed, so a 1-to-1 replica of that is not comparable to the hyper-realistic head sculpts that this hobby is known for. And with that said, I really like this interpretation of Dante. It's easily one of Asmus Toys' best iteration of this character so far. And you are getting 2 entire head sculpts, so the gnarly seams on the side of the hair sculpts from the prototype had all but disappeared. Now, the instructions suggest that you can just pluck from the neck if you want to swap head sculpts, but it's not that simple because when you actually extract the head, the entire neck joint comes with it. Pulling out the base piece is a pain too because there isn't a lot of grip. And worse, setting the piece back into the neck is cumbersome, as the socket is fairly deep and you can't see what's going on. This mechanic is arguably my least favorite part of this release. Anyways, the execution for the costume is slightly better. According to Asmus, the costume is made almost entirely of leather. The jacket itself is brimming with details. It feels fairly rigid, and the layering, stitching, buttons, and zippers are all very fine-grained. The lapels are sewn in place so they always look good, and the way the collar juts out is spot on. Maybe this is just my copy, but I do feel the jacket is kinda lopsided, as if it's always covering Dante's left a little more. The harness is looking amazing though. It's just as solid, so there are no weird wrinkles on the straps and holsters. Plus the studs on the left shoulders are downright meticulous. The zippers on the sleeves are fully functional, though there's no option for the ripped right sleeve after Dante's encounter with Virgil, which is fine by me. The folds on the belts are also stitched in place. The inner red lining bears a subtle kind of shimmer, and the whole thing ends with a bit of weathering on the tip of the coat tail. The edges are inlaid with a wire. It's not the strongest per se, but it's good enough to retain some mild poses. I'm more worried about the longevity of the pants though, as the surface layer seems to be a lot more wrinkly than the jacket. Then again, the limited shelf life of leather was something I've already accepted when I purchased this figure, so I'll do what I can and hope for the best. The boots are completely sculpted, but I love the intricate layering and the crisp paint app on the zippers. Proper licensed logos. What a joy to see. Let's quickly plow through the articulations, because there are a lot of accessories to cover. If you can connect the neck joint properly, you can tilt Dante's head down pretty far, which is kind of amazing. As expected, the jacket limits the arm movements rather significantly, but there's really no way around it, especially when the leather is so resistant. The same goes for the elbows, unfortunately. One interesting note about the hands is that while the cuff portions of the gloves are made of a soft rubber, the wrists still can't bend those tight angles, but the twisting motion is strong enough to hold the weapon sideways. The soft rubber torso does cope well with articulations, even if there isn't a whole lot to be had. As mentioned before, the tiny wrinkles on the pants make me a little uneasy to pose this figure, despite the pelvis and knees having a decent range of motion. This might sound silly, but when you're done posing, definitely yank up the pants a little so it clears the wrinkles caused by the pelvis joint. And the ankles are somewhat limited, but that too, I suppose, is expected given the sculpted boots. The flashy accessories of this release is very on brand with Dante's character. Starting with the standard edition, we have Dante's trusty sword, Rebellion. While it does look great, there are no interchangeable options around the hilt, so we're only getting the dormant form. But the upside is, it's made of a thin plastic so it's very light, and the built-in magnet would have no problem holding a grip on Dante's back. Next is of course the trademark customized semi-auto pistols, Ebony and Ivory. The lack of moving parts is made up for by the brilliant details and paint app. Notice the ammo ejection port on the Ebony is properly located on its left. You can even identify the portraits of the women in each of the grips. Then we have Lady's rocket launcher, which is named after her late mother, Kalina N. The side handle is manually attached. Otherwise, this thing is overall rather static, but hey, it still looks very cool. Next up is Dante's half of the perfect amulet. There are no engravings on the back, as the clear red hollow plastic with silver paint on the sides is what's giving the red gem its sparkle. Rounding out the base accessories is this basic round display base. The surface is just a print of this fan-shaped stone flooring, with an ornate trim that goes all the way around. And the fun continues, with some additional weapons from the luxury edition. First up is my favorite of the bunch, Nevin. The guitar form might not be as spiky as in the game, but Asmus Toys went the extra mile to include its other form. Just take this piece off here, expand it like so, stick it back on the magnets, and the sickle form is faithfully recreated. Then we have another set of devil arms, Agni and Rudra. These dual swords are slightly thicker than Rebellion, but they aren't much heavier. The faces on the pommels are looking clean. Don't worry though, they don't talk. And if they do, well then they might have more things to say than you. And this Cerberus marks the last of the devil arms. This tripartite nunchuck is true to form, with 3 handles that are expertly crafted in clear blue, and a linking chain system, which is about the only part of the accessories that's made of metal. Oh, and we got the double-barrel shotgun as well. Nothing too crazy here. It's got that paint weathering and a top-rig reload mechanic. And finally, bringing everything together, we have these 2 plastic panels which are the basis of the weapon rack. The cracks in these slots might not inspire a lot of confidence, but these panels are surprisingly sturdy. There's also this base piece here with a rail for the square pieces to go in, and you get 4 sets of these hooks and connectors. The eye-shaped ones are for joining the 2 square panels. The hooks go into the slots, serving as anchors for the weapons. Then slip the panels into the base. And voila, all done. And with everything mounted on here, this weapon rack is a great finishing touch to wrap up this overload of accessories. For the size comparison, let's bring out some of Asmus Toys' previous versions of Dante, such as this one from DMC IV, and of course version 1.0 from DMC III. The leather for these past figures are holding up pretty well, especially for the DMC IV version, which is nearly 5 years old. You might have also noticed that the 2.0 is much shorter. According to the DMC Wiki, Dante is about 6'3", so I gotta side with the 1.0 on this one, as the 2.0 is sadly just a little over 11 inches tall. However, there are a number of improvements on the 2.0, with the most obvious one being the head sculpt, and it's not difficult to see why the 1.0 feels a little dated. The stitching on the jacket is also much finer across the board, so the 2.0 looks less toyish in comparison, and the same goes for smaller details like buttons and zippers. And while the 1.0 has the proper height, it also suffers from noodle legs that not even the leather pants could hide. So if you've never owned a Dante figure before, this one might just hit the spot. But if you already own the 1.0, it's tough to justify the upgrade, unless you really like the character. And because the standard accessories are identical between the 2 releases, you're essentially paying the full price for 2 new head sculpts and a slightly upgraded costume and body. So there you have it, the 1/6 scale Dante 2.0 from DMC III by Asmus Toys. As a standalone, this release is very solid, with a beautifully crafted costume, amazing accessories, and 2 brilliant head sculpts marred only by a clumsy swapping mechanic, not to mention the extra display options from the luxury edition. Though with just about 2 years apart, I can't help but feel that this is what the 1.0 should have been. But either ways, this is a great gateway figure to start your DMC collection, and for veteran collectors of this line, it'll come down to a matter of preference as to whether or not this one is worth the upgrade.